new options and new alternatives. And I think if you talk to Secretary Collins at the VA, the partnership we've had is as deep as any partnership between the Department of War and the VA has ever existed. So we've got regular meetings between us as secretaries, but also our chiefs, and then down into the committees to ensure the flow is consistent. But if there's something that the VA is doing that we should be looking at that enables our service members to be better at their job, we're going to entertain it. So thank you for your advocacy on it, and we'll take a look at it.
Thank you very much. And it excites me that the two entities, one couldn't exist without the other. Our veteran. I've had the opportunity to not only travel the country, but travel the world and visit our troops, either Oconus or CONUS. And I have to say, sir, the morale, the well-being, just the sheer excitement our service members see and how they're acting today, it kind of takes me back to our generation, if you will. Just to see that kind of that forward momentum, that intestinal fortitude kind of glows on them. And I think that's a direct correlation to your leadership, sir, as well as the president. Can you, from your perspective, I'm assuming you're seeing the same thing. And I think that blue line that needed to be popped got popped, and our service members are absolutely leading from the front, and the world has noticed. Tell me I'm not seeing that just from my own eyes.
No, you're not, Congressman. And I meant this when I said it. I would encourage every single member of this committee to talk to lieutenants and captains and majors and colonels and sergeants and staff sergeants and sergeants major and specialists who are doing the job right now on the front lines or across the country, and they have seen a sea change in the environment and the morale and the spirit in their formations. And it isn't some secret sauce. It's don't treat us as a petri dish in your social justice exercise or your social engineering approach. Just let us do our job. Let us get back to basics. Let us train. Let us choose people and elevate people simply on merit and merit alone. That's motivating for people. That's why they join. That's why they do really difficult things like you did. And are away from their families for a very long time. They want to defend their kids and grandkids, but they don't want to have distractions and debris on the inside. So when we talk to them, they are so grateful for the fact that we're just getting back to the basics of readiness, training, accountability, discipline, warfighting. Commanders, squad leaders, you name it. And to those watching across the country, ask folks who have served, who've been in it, how they view it. And they see it under President Trump's leadership fundamentally different. And we haven't even talked about the border, which is now secure. I mean, there's the recruiting successes, the fitness and combat standards that have been restored. We're treating everybody at the same level. Sounds like basics, but it all translates into morale. And then morale translates into readiness, and that translates into capabilities. And then when you have a commander-in-chief that unleashes them, it turns into mission success. And then the world pays attention to what the American military is capable of doing. And it's on the shoulders of leaders like you who did it in previous generations, and we're simply doing it again. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And for everyone in the room that's in uniform, God bless each and every one of you for your service, as well as your families. Mr. Speaker. Sorry about that.
I thought you liked me.
I did. I'm sorry. That slipped.
Gentleman's time is expired. We now go to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, as you know, I represent San Diego, the largest military community in the country. Right now, as we are speaking, 2,500 San Diego Marines are off the coast of Iran. Many, many other San Diegans in uniform have gotten 48-hour deployment notices. So this war in Iran is not theoretical for me or for my constituents. It's deeply personal. As you also know, on Easter Sunday, President Trump threatened to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants, writing, quote, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And 2 days later, President Trump wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." My office's phones have been ringing off the hook. I've heard from so many military families concerned about the president's mental fitness and whether he's fit to serve as our commander-in-chief, given that he's sending their loved ones into harm's way. Our troops, who have shown incredible bravery and tactical proficiency, deserve to know that their leaders are focused and stable. So, Mr. Secretary, you are with the president a lot, and it pains me to even have to ask this about our president. but my constituents' lives are at stake. Do you believe that the president is mentally stable enough to be the commander-in-chief?
Did you ask the same question of Joe Biden for 4 years?
Mr. Secretary, Joe Biden is not the president. Mr. Trump has been president for a year and a half, and I'm asking you
did
right
not,
now.
and I won't even engage with the level of disparagement that you're putting on the commander-in-chief, who indeed is. Meeting with him
Secretary,
every single day.
Mr. Secretary, Biden is not the president.
He's the sharpest, most insightful commander-in-chief we've had in generations. And you want to compare, you want to ask that question after you and your fellow Democrats defended Joe Biden, who could barely speak and didn't know what day of the week it was?
As you know,
he governed through an auto pen. He had a Secretary of Defense who went AWOL for a week. I can't be gone for 10 minutes.
I will reclaim my time. Thank you so much.
Genlady's time. She reclaimed it.
So, as Mr. Jimenez said, we should be taking leaders at their word. So is there a reason that we should not be taking our leader at his word?
Iran should not underestimate the will of President Trump and the United States military to achieve our mission.
Okay, well, I want you to know this is not a partisan thing. In fact, many Democrats have had, many Republicans have had these same questions. Marjorie Taylor Greene said he's out of control and he's gone insane. Candace Owens said the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, who you used to work with, Alex Jones, Stephanie Grisham, the list could go on. So how do I explain to my constituents that while they are in harm's way, their commander-in-chief is posting these unhinged posts?
How did you explain to your constituents what happened on October 7th, or what happened in Afghanistan, or what happened with the debacle and the withdrawal in Afghanistan, where the troops were left? How did you explain that with Joe Biden's leadership?
Mr. Secretary,
how did you explain that to the Marines that didn't get medals,
that
we restored their medals because of that disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan? Did you explain that to your constituents when Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel and he had an AWOL Secretary of Defense?
I don't think you did. Next post. How can I explain this next post to my constituents? I'm Jewish, so this doesn't really bother me, but my understanding is that this is quite offensive to many Christians. So how do you explain this post?
I'm not here to explain posts. We have an incredible commander-in-chief who puts our troops first. I'm here for a budget hearing about our troops.
This is
a historic budget that's giving us a chance to defeat
Mr. Secretary,
our adversaries, and President Trump is doing that in
world-class
fashion.
This is about our troops.
Gentlelady has reclaimed her time, Mr. Secretary.
This is about our troops. This is about who is commanding our troops and if our troops can trust that they are being sent into harm's way under good strategy. The mental stability of our commander-in-chief is deeply important to our troops. It's deeply important to this country. It
wasn't important to you during Joe Biden.
I'll remind you that when there were concerns, Democrats came together, and he was not our nominee for president. So I encourage you to have the same courage that Democrats had. Mr. Secretary, you keep saying that he is the best commander-in-chief we've ever had, the best negotiator.
Talk to the troops.
13 American troops have died. More than 380 have been wounded. The Strait of Hormuz, which was wide open, is now closed. Less than 90% of traffic through the strait is still not going despite the ceasefire. The Iranian regime is still in power. It still has nuclear material. The war is costing Americans billions of dollars. And Mr. Secretary, if you think that this is what winning looks like, then maybe we should be questioning your mental stability. Maybe you are the one responsible for this failure, and the president should think about replacing you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair, I recognize
the
gentlelady from Virginia, Ms. Kiggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being with us. I have the privilege of representing Virginia's 2nd Congressional District, so Hampton Roads, home to a lot of our East Coast Navy. And I had the privilege of attending the VFA 106 Change of Command on Friday, which is our fleet replacement squadron for the aging F-18s. But what an awesome event. And to talk to some of the Navy leadership that was there and to listen to them say firsthand just about the morale of the squadrons that are currently deployed on the USS Ford, specifically talking to leadership. A lot of our children serve. It's a family business for those of us in naval aviation. And they're like, don't believe the media. The morale's amazing. Those guys are doing tip of the spear mission work. I live with a retired F-18 pilot husband who also is begging to find a way to get back in the cockpit because he's jealous of what he sees. So just that type of mentality. Thank you for that. I know that they're doing a mission, and keeping them engaged is an important part of the fight. Along those same lines about naval aviation, I would love to hear, Mr. Secretary, your thoughts about the future of naval aviation. I know that this is a budget hearing, so last year's budget, we had $900 million that we were looking forward to using the FAXX program, and then the fiscal year 27 request was reduced to $140 million. And I, of course, keeping tabs on the Air Force, $5 billion for their F-47 program. So we love aircraft carriers. We love that mobile air superiority piece. What are your plans for the future of naval aviation? I kick and scream every day of the week here in this committee about the F-35s and getting them at our East Coast Master Jet Base. I know the FAXX is our next generation strike fighter, but just would love to hear your plans and timelines for the future of naval aviation.
Well, I appreciate your comments, and then I would defer to the chairman, too, on it, on the remaining utility of the F-18s, which are still flying critical missions right now off our carriers and do a fantastic job.
30-plus years old, but yes.
Yes, correct, which is why the issue of the FAXX is important. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's a matter of trade-offs in industry and design and capabilities, ensuring we're not slowing other things down at the behest of others. So I think in August, the August timeframe is, I'm sure you're familiar with that.
That's
is
correct.
what we're looking at. It's a critical capability that we need to fund for the future of naval aviation. I would defer if anything you want to add.
Sure, I think you covered it. We don't need access basing and overflight off of a CSG and a CVN, and so it gives the Secretary and the President a lot of options. So, and I just want to echo the thanks for the Joint Force, on behalf of the Joint Force, for all 3 CSGs that are out there getting after it right now. I share your husband's jealousy, but just want the force to know how much we appreciate him, especially the Ford.
Thank you. Thanks very much, General. And then, Mr. Secretary, just again representing a big Navy district and having just a concern for the Navy, could you shed any light on why the Secretary of the Navy was relieved and what that timeline to replace him looks like for permanent leadership? I think that's one of the reasons why we struggle with even, I think, about the basing decisions and, again, naval aviation, and I wish we would talk more about just the contributions of our aviators, but could you shed any light on that issue?
Well, as the President stated, we thank the previous Secretary for his service, appreciate a lot of the initiatives that he undertook. Ultimately, it was time for a new leadership and a new direction as far as running fast toward those objectives, and so we made a change. We think it's hard personnel is policy, and the sooner you identify, especially, we talked about general officers, as you're evaluating whether they're running with the mission they've been given, you got to make a change if they're not. The same with civilians, and in this case, we made that change.
And any timeline to replace or have a new Secretary of the Navy
Well, right now we have an acting in Hung Kao who's did a fantastic job as the number 2, and he'll be acting for now. And I would imagine we'll know in due time.
Thank you. And then General Caine, I know you're a VMI graduate, and I know you're watching some of the partisan attacks that have been going on with some of our senior military academies, specifically in Virginia. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts or have had any discussions about how we can remove some of our senior military academies from these partisan state politics. I think it requires a further discussion. We had 170 Army ROTC officers that we commissioned out of that school specifically, but we've seen pushes to shut down, defund, replace their board of visitors. Any thoughts on how we can be more protective of those great schools?
Well, ma'am, you sort of started where I'm going to land on the importance of staying politics as the chairman and not unintentionally or inadvertently stepping into a political matter where I should not. As the Secretary said, people are policy, and policies are things that we don't do in the Joint Force. I appreciate all of the commissioning sources that are out there.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Chair, I recognize the gentlelady from Washington, Ms. Strickland.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers and Member Smith, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. This committee is being asked to consider a $1.5 trillion DoD budget request that funds not only weapons and system programs, but the people, leadership, readiness, and trust required to make them effective. When senior leaders are removed abruptly or merit-based promotions are disrupted without clear explanation, Congress does have the responsibility to understand the rationale and operational consequences. So I'm going to focus on Secretary Hegseth. And to start, no one is disputing that senior officers serve at the pleasure of civilian leadership. The issue in front of this is whether the decision to remove General Randy George strengthened the Army or created an avoidable disruption during an active operational period. General George, who also served as commanding general at First Corps at JBLM, has been serving for 4 decades, including multiple command and operational leadership roles, culminating as Chief of Staff of the Army, responsible for readiness, force modernization, and the welfare of over 1 million soldiers and civilians. He was removed in the middle of an active conflict involving U.S. operations against Iran when leadership continuity is most critical. Public reporting indicates that General George's removal may have followed disagreements over Army personnel matters, including concerns regarding withheld promotions. So my question, Secretary, is this: what specific national security risk